Chapter 33, Steel and Compassion. Time seemed to stand still. Riven stood between Selenia and the doorway, like a living wall. The faint light slipping in through the narrow window traced a gray edge along his silhouette, hardening the sharp planes of his face. There was no surprise in his eyes, only recognition and calculation. "The bearer of the mark is not among you," he said, without greeting or ceremony, as if they had merely arrived late to an expected appointment. The words fell like a stone. Kyle tightened his grip around the hilt of his sword. "And how do you know I'm not the chosen one?" he shot back, stepping half a pace forward. Riven tilted his head slightly. A crooked expression, something that was not quite a smile, crossed his face. "Because you're not the one who nearly dropped a mountain on me." The air grew heavy. Kyle felt the icy stab of memory. The battle in Thalin, the ice breaking apart, the force that had hurled everyone toward the abyss. Riven lifted his chin, assessing him the way one might inspect a flawed weapon. "But I do remember you," he added. "How's your shoulder?" Kyle stepped forward at once, blood boiling, ready to strike. Dren grabbed his arm hard. "Don't rush it," he whispered through clenched teeth. Riven let his gaze travel over the group, lingering on Lyanna and finally on Selenia, chained yet upright, her head held high. "Where is the boy with the light eyes?" he asked. "The one who bears the mark on his chest, the one who brings mountains down." Dren let out a short, arrogant laugh. "He had other commitments," he said insolently. "Sent us instead. But hey, don't feel bad. We'll take care of you just as well." Riven raised an eyebrow, just barely. "Then show me what you can do." It was almost an invitation, a deliberate provocation. Dren released Kyle. "Together," he said, "or he kills us one by one." Kyle nodded, and the room erupted into motion. Riven struck first, fast as a gust of wind. The black sword carved an arc that Kale barely managed to block. The impact jolted up his arm. Before he could recover his balance, Riven spun and drove a straight kick into Dren's chest, sending him crashing into the stone wall. Kale attacked again, his silver blade colliding with Riven's. Sparks flew. The space was tight, the bed in Selenia's chain constraining every movement. She watched in silence, unmoving, almost serene despite the chaos. Lyanna retreated to the corner, Velis in hand, waiting for the right moment. "Slow," Riven said as he deflected another of Kyle's strikes with unsettling ease. "Even slower than in Thalin." Kyle snarled and pressed the attack harder. The commander shoved him back and turned on Dren, who was struggling to rise. In one fluid motion, Riven slashed his arm and then struck him full in the face. Dren dropped to his knees, dazed. "Is that all?" Riven murmured. Kale charged with a shout. Riven was ready. The clash of steel rang like a thunderclap trapped in a small space. Riven moved as if he knew Kale's intentions before they formed. Blocking, evading, countering. Kale staggered back, gasping. Riven advanced to finish him, and then the air changed. A blast of wind burst from the corner, sudden and violent enough to tear dust from the floor. The shockwave hit Riven squarely and hurled him into the wall. His sword fell with a metallic clang. Lyanna lowered her hand slowly, her eyes still glowing with a deep green light. Kale saw the opening. He raised his sword with both hands, determined to end the man responsible for what had happened in Hearthglen, the one who had hunted them like animals for so long. Selenia stepped forward. "Kyle, stop!" Her voice was not a shout. It was a command, one that cut through the room. Kyle looked at her without lowering the blade. "Why?" he asked. "Why let him live?" Selenia met his gaze without blinking. "Because killing a defeated enemy changes you. There is no honor in it, and that path is not yours." Dren, swaying, braced himself against the wall with his bleeding arm. "This is madness," he snapped. "Kill him! He's a commander of Galathor. We won't get another chance." Selenia looked at him with a calm that seemed almost inhuman. "If he dies now, you'll only ensure they hunt you with greater ferocity. And besides," she paused, "that man still has a role to play." Kyle frowned. "What role?" "One we cannot prevent," Selenia replied. "Not today." Lyanna, kneeling beside Dren, lifted her eyes to Kale. "I trust her," she said, If Selenia asks this of us, we must listen. Kyle looked at his friend, then at Selenia, then at Riven's unconscious face. His fingers loosened on the hilt. The blade lowered. Dren snorted in frustration but did not argue. Cal sheathed his sword. Dren dragged himself over to Riven's motionless body, searched his belt, and found a dark key marked with the raven emblem. He walked to Selenia and unlocked the clasp securing the chain to her wrist. The metal hit the floor with a dull sound. Selenia inhaled as if she were breathing freely for the first time in days. Leanna embraced her at once, trembling. "Are you all right?" she asked. "Did they hurt you?" "No," Selenia answered calmly. "Riven was respectful, strangely so." Dren snorted. "I would have returned the favor by killing him." Cal ignored him. Everything was happening too fast. Riven began to stir. Dren rolled his eyes and dragged him onto the bed. Together, he and Cal chained him in the exact place where Selenia had stood moments before, securing every ring, every clasp, every shackle. Riven regained consciousness just an instant before they left. He looked at Cal, then at Selenia. He said nothing, but his eyes promised storms. Cal held his gaze for a second, then closed the door. Beneath the dark cloaks of fallen soldiers, the group moved with steady steps. They crossed silent corridors, descended stone stairways, and avoided the unconscious bodies still lying where Dren had left them. As they exited the tower, Cal paused for a moment. A strange pang crossed his chest, the clear, cold sensation that the statue of the ancient mage was calling to him, as if something in that stone figure were asking him not to leave. He closed his eyes briefly and took a deep breath. This was not the moment. He could not afford distractions. He ignored the call and followed the others. At the wall, torches flickered in the night wind. The sentries were far away, occupied by the chaos of the rebel attack. Dren sighed, still aching. "I can't believe that worked." "It worked," Kyle replied, looking toward the trees. "Now we vanish before that bastard fully wakes up." Leanna tightened her grip on Selenia's hand. "Let's go," she murmured. Selenia nodded, a small smile on her lips that seemed to hold centuries within it. Without looking back, they disappeared into the forest. The night closed around them, and in the tower, chained to the bed, Riven opened his eyes fully. A living shadow behind his gaze, a promise of pursuit, a silent vow. The hunt was not over, not for him, nor for them.